Foreplay is start of the show. Where your draft begins and your knowledge will grow. His picks and her flex, we got you back for show. From quarterback to steeple, that's where we explode. All love, no lust, we the ones you can trust. Lock in your options, you know it's a must. With this week's fantasy, we'll help you adjust. Boom, up a bus, let's get ready to rush. Draft the right, don't miss the call. In the game, we got no.
Yeah, it's your boy Ghost Dog
and Miss Hangover,
and it is your fantasy foreplay. His pick
per flex.
Yeah, buddy, over here at the Aboriginal Sports Network. This is an Aboriginal Sports Network original. Pay attention, we got your top 10 tight ends for your fantasy football needs. But before all that, make sure you hit the subscribe if you feel the vibe, if you are new to the channel. Helps the algorithm if you catch my drift. But yeah, babe, what you got to say about these tight ends? Do they need to pay attention or what?
They need to pay attention. And I'm going to start it off with my number 10. And my number 10 is going to be David Njoku. He went off for 148.5 overall fantasy points last year, and he's projected to do 176.7. He did 505 yards, 5 reception touchdowns, average 5.5 receptions, and 45.9 yards per game. That was both career highs for him last year. Who's your number 10, my love?
All right. My number 10 is Mr. Travis Swift himself. Oh yes, Mr. Travis Swift. Oh, I'm sorry, is that Travis Kelce? My bad. Yeah, absolutely. Travis Kelce. Now look, I get it. A couple years ago, he was easily the number 1 spot, no doubt about it. However, it's just, the age situation is catching up to him. They got new weapons over there at the Kansas City Chiefs. Will he be productive of enough to, warrant a top 10 in terms of tight ends? Absolutely. However, if he's available like in the 3rd or 4th round, maybe snatch him up. He's projected to do about 12.7 points a game. It's a little bit shaky for me. You know what I'm saying? Last year, he did 242. He's projected to do 215 this year. As I said, he still got something left in the tank, but is it worth a top pick? Nah, not in my opinion. That being the case, babe, who is your number 9?
Pat Freiermuth. He last year did 168.3 overall fantasy points. This year he is expected to do 134. That is a little lower than what he was projected to do than last year. But that's okay. That's why he's my number 9. He went off for 653 reception yards, 7 receiving touchdowns. He played 65% of the offensive snaps. Jonnu Smith is no longer there to compete with. So hopefully that means that it won't dip as much as they are projecting him to. That's my number 9. Who is yours, baby?
That's a dope number 9. Number 9. My number 9 is Mr. Tucker Kraft. It's just this kid, man, he does things. Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, no, for sure. Number 9, Tucker Kraft. Averaged about 196 last year. Expected to do more or less the same this year. That's about 11.6 points average per game. For sure, man, absolutely did things last year. I think he'll continue to do things this year. 30 in the league. He's just becoming more and more of a weapon for Jordan Love over there. I get they got Dobbs. I get they got Reed as well, right? His name is Reed. A lot of weapons over there. However, he's emerging to be a little bit of a star over there. Last year, I know a lot of people scrambled, for him and later on in the season. And, saved a lot of people's seasons from what I could been hearing.
He did good for me, and he came through for me, and I was very happy with his performance last year in fantasy. He was my tried and true, and I followed him all the way down to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. So Tucker Craft easily makes my top 10 football fantasy tight end needs, for sure, without a doubt.
And funny though, I had Tucker Craft last year, and he definitely carried me just like he carried Packers. My number 8 is going to be Evan Ingram. And number 8 is going to be Evan Ingram. Last year, he only did 89.5, but I'm pretty sure that was due to the circumstances he was under and the team he was with. This year, he's projected to do 169.1. With that being said, he did still do 365 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Now he will be with the Denver Broncos, and he will be used as a tight end wide receiver hybrid. Could be a number 2 target after Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton, as we know, is that dude. But even if he, is a number 2, I think he will still put up pretty good numbers for you, especially if he does anything like the 169.1 he is projected to do. Who is your number 8, baby?
My number 8 is the one and only Mark Andrews, my man's. Lord have mercy. It sucks because that drop in that AFC game, that playoff game, it was terrible. However, he's still a reliable target throughout the season. He put up points last year. You got to keep an eye on him though. He did have like some kind of injury situation going into the season, so he's marked as questionable right now. However, he averaged 230 points last year. He's projected to do 207. So yeah, no, man, he's still reliable over there. He's still a playmaker. He's still a red zone threat. Minus that one drop that he had. However, I expect him to do things. He's absolutely worthy of a top 10 tight end pick for your fantasy football. Now, babe, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is going to be Mark Andrews. Your number 8. He went for 673 yards, 11 receiving touchdowns. He finished as a tight end 6 for all PPR rankings, led all tight ends in end zone targets and touchdowns, proving his red zone dominance last year in 2024. He did, like you said, kind of make a little oopsie, but we can forgive him going forward if he can be the man that he was this last year. That is my number 7. Who is your number 6, babe?
My number 6 is Mr. Sam Laporta. Right? I think that's how you say it with the R's. Laporta. Mr. Sam Laporta. Man, look, listen. His sophomore campaign was crazy. Last year had a bit of a hiccup situation because of injuries and availability, if you will. However, still managed to average 10.9 points a game. He is absolutely reliable at that tight end spot. Last year, put up 171 overall. This year, expected to do 215. He's definitely a top tight end. However, being as that the Lions have so many pieces over there and weapons, the ball is going to get spread around. However, like Mark Andrews, he is that red zone threat type of tight end. So keep an eye for him, and absolutely keep him in mind when it comes to your fantasy football needs. All right, babe. And who is your number 6?
All right. My number 6 is going to be Brenton Strange. He did 91.1 overall fantasy points this last 2024 season. But with that being said, he came in late in the game. He actually went off for crazy. Everybody was freaking out on the fantasy platforms, being like, you need to go get him right now if you really were hurting for a tight end. This year, he is projected to do 139.9. He did 411 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns this last year. He played 60% of offensive snaps, even when Evan Ingram was there. So let's see what he can do this year. I think 139.9 is pretty impressive for him. Who is your number 5, baby?
My number 5 is somebody who you're familiar with, although I consider him a little bit higher on my list. Now, you're like, oh, Ghost Dog, why would Miss Hangover have him at 10 and you at 5? Well, we have different opinions over here and different takes, right? Choices, right? Variety. That being the case, he's the guy over there right now outside of Jerry Jeudy. Expect him to be making most of the plays over there for the Browns. Their offense is stagnant. They haven't even figured out who their quarterback is yet. However, if there's been one thing that's been the most consistent on that offense, it is your boy, David Njoku. Last year, 116 is a little low. I want to attribute that to possible situations with the health reasons. Yep, absolutely. Only played 11 games. Still averaged 13.5 per game when he was playing. Look, absolutely, I expect him to definitely put up points this year, and he is absolutely worthy of a top 10 tight end pick in whichever range, however you want to see it. That being the case, babe, who is your number 5?
Alrighty, my number 5 is going to be Dalton Kincaid. He went off for 448 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. The reason why he is my number 5 and so high on this list, because he did only do 100.8 overall fantasy points this last year, is because they are lacking a wide receiver 1. He is poised for a breakout season with a Josh Allen-led offense. So he is projected to do 147.1 overall fantasy points, kind of most likely going to be in a hybrid role as well. That is my number 5, and I stand beside him, and I also drafted him for one of my fantasies. So let's hope that my prediction goes in my favor. Who is your number 5, my love? Alrighty, who is your number 4, my love?
My number 4 is Mr. TJ Hawkinson himself. Had a bit of a little situation last year, the year before, correction. Had that gruesome injury. So he started last year a little late. However, when he did start, man, he hit the ground running. Didn't play for 7 games. However, he was still able to rack up close to 500 yards receiving with 11.1 reception yards per reception. No touchdowns. However, I expect that to change this year. A new season, a new start. Projected to do 316 this year. That's at least 14.6 a game. So, yeah, man, TJ Hawkinson is definitely a weapon. Red zone threat. If it's not going to Jefferson, if it ain't going to, Jordan Addison, it is absolutely going to TJ Hawkinson. So keep him in your thoughts come draft day. All right, baby. Now, that being the case, who is your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be George Kittle. Last year, he did 236.6 overall fantasy points. This year, he is projected to do 225.4. His yardage was crazy, 1,106 yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. He did rank top 3 in yards after catch among all tight ends. Let's see what he can do this year. I think he's a good number 3. I think that yardage is crazy.
Very reliable.
Very reliable.
Absolutely, especially because, Ayuk was down, Debo's out of the game pretty much, so he was definitely reliable.
Mm-hmm. Who is your number 2, babe?
My number 2, or rather my number 3. I'm jumping the gun a little bit here. All right, my number 3 is Mr. Trey McBride himself. Now, again, it's that situation where, It's similar to the Browns where, there hasn't really been anybody like that stepped up outside of Trey McBride. Ever since he came into the league, you know, way back in 2022, it's just been like a slow progression towards being a top 10 tight end in the league. Last year, 1,100 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, average 15 points a game. Man, look, absolutely, for me, top 3 easily in a top 10 situation, without a doubt. He is worth at least maybe like a second or even like a late third round pick. He's just that good. He's just that consistent. And I expect him to be good this year too as well. With that being said, babe, who is your number 2?
Well, now that we actually are on number 2s, my number 2 is going to be Trey McBride. 249.8 overall fantasy points, projected to do 259.3. Again, another crazy yardage, 1,146 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, average 71.6 receiving yards per game, second only to Brock the Rock Bowers. So that is my number 2. I stand beside it. Who is your number 2?
My number 2 is somebody who we just talked about, and it is Mr. George Kittle yet again. Like you said, Trey McBride went off last year, and I give him that. However, George Kittle, again, Mr. Reliable. They don't really have anybody over there right now, wide receiver-wise. Ayuk is hurt. They got a plethora of running backs. CMC, will he stay healthy? Juwan Jennings had a little bit of a disappointment last year as well. Too much of an up and down, not so consistent. However, the most consistent thing over there, as besides Brock Purdy at this point, is George Kittle. No doubt about it. Top 3 tight end in the league easily. Make sure you have him on your fantasy football lineup if he is available in some of those early rounds. That being the case, babe, who is your number 1?
I feel like because our number 1 is both the same person, that we are going to do this number 1 together. Who is our number 1? 3, 2, 1. Brock Bowers. Last year, he did 262.7 overall fantasy points, projected to do 261. Again, another crazy yardage, 1,194 yards, 5 receiving touchdowns, and set the rookie tight end record for receptions and receiving yards.
Absolutely. Brock Bowers, man, he is a weapon. What more can be said? He almost touched 1,200 yards receiving. 15.5 fantasy points per game average. Look, pay attention. And I actually took him in one of my fantasies in the early round. I was in need of a wide receiver. I saw Brock Bowers was available. He is basically it when it comes to like the Raiders right now. Yeah, they got Ashton Genty. However, Geno Smith is definitely going to be looking in Brock Bowers' direction almost every other play. Pay attention. Absolutely number 1 spot for anybody's top 10 tight end football fantasy league needs. Absolutely, without a doubt. I expect nothing less from this young man. He is going to ball out.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. This kid is just an absolute specimen. Yeah, no, for sure. Brock Bowers, man. That was our number 1. And that wraps up our official top 10 fantasy tight ends for your fantasy needs. Without a doubt, baby. I got to say, man, this list is looking pretty good for both of ours. What do you say?
No, I agree. We had some of the same people yet again, different spots, but I would agree, and I would pick anybody off your list as well.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And if you pay attention, the top 3 is not really like much different. It's just different spots, like you said. Hands down, the things only really get different after that 4 spot. Still some familiar names between the 2 lists, but without a doubt, keep this list in mind. Keep these players in mind. Again, man, tight ends if I've learned anything from my time with tight ends, they can sometimes make or break you. No nonsense.
I will say that is for sure. And sometimes they can even help you win if they're that good, like a Brock Bowers.
Or even like George Kittle.
Yeah, slide one of those good tight ends in your flex. It could really boost your points for the week.
Absolutely. However, that being the case, as all of our videos, we also have some honorable mentions as well as some sleepers here, babe. And who is your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is going to be Zach Ertz. 177.4 overall fantasy points, projected to do 140.2. He did not quite make my top 10 list, but he is still a good pick in all honesty. 654 yards, seven receiving touchdowns. He played a key role in offense, averaged 38.5 receiving yards per game. He's expected to do, that 140.2 fantasy points at the minimum if he stays healthy for all 17 games.
Absolutely, man. And, I had Zach Ertz last year. He did a couple things for me, man. Very consistent. He was definitely becoming Jaden Daniels like a safety blanket, if you will. Red zone threat. As a Giants fan, I know all too well how much of a problem he was when he was with the Eagles, and he's continuing that legacy of being a problem against the Giants with the Commanders. So, yeah, no, for sure. That being the case, my honorable mention is your boy out of Tampa Bay, Mr. Cade Otton. Now, he does things, man. He was able to put up 171 last year. It's projected to do more of the same this year. That being the case, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of feel like, that's kind of like, setting the bar a little bit low over there. I think he's going to be better than he was last year with the unpredictable nature of Godwin's health. And, Mike Evans is getting up there in age, and I get it. They got, what's his name again? Egbuka. Yeah, pardon us. I feel like he's going to be more involved in this offense, especially in those red zone threat situations. Like, for sure, man. Keep him on as possibly maybe a matchup flex type of situation, or if you need a tight end to cover for you for a bye week, keep him in mind for sure. Cade Otton is definitely worth considering. And with that being the case, babe, your sleeper.
My sleeper is going to be TJ Hawkinson. He played 60% of offensive snaps when healthy. He has a chance to reclaim his role as top-tier tight end, entering into this season with a clean bill of health. Jordan Addison's suspended, and this will only open it up for more high targets. This is a huge opportunity for TJ Hawkinson. So he is projected to do 187.1. Let's see what happens with this opportunity for him. I hope he really goes off for this year. Yeah, that is my sleeper. Who is yours?
Yeah, no, for sure. TJ Hawkinson, outside of that injury, I think he's going to do good things. I think, for sure, man. He's a weapon over there. No doubt about it. He balls out, man. Definitely. However, my sleeper is, a very familiar name out there in the fantasy football world. More so because of the letdown than the positivity. Kyle Pitts has just been like a conversation, man. Is he going to be that guy? Can he be that guy? I'm not out on him. I'm labeling him as a sleeper. I believe this is year 3. He finally has a quarterback back there that can give him the ball. So pay attention for that. Plus, I understand they got Drake London and Mooney over there. However, for those red zone situations, you need a big body Kyle type Pitts type tight end type receiver to be able to make those plays. So for sure, man, he is definitely worthy of a sleeper pick for me. And that being the case, man, those are our honorable mentions as well as our sleepers. And again, babe, I gotta say, man, we giving some pretty good information out to the people. What say you?
I I agree. I think sometimes we're giving a little too much information to you guys.
Yeah, for sure, especially with our own personal draft coming up for the Aboriginals. So keep that in mind, man.
And with that being said, like, subscribe, check out our videos in the future because we are hoping to do some more things soon. And this is an Aboriginal Sports Network original.
Peace.
I hope you enjoyed the foreplay on this Saturday night. So coming next draft day, you can slide it in right. Ghost dog and hangover, keeping it tight. Show us you learned some with a follow a light.